the advertising.
Welcome to Bloomfield Township Board of Trustees meeting Monday, April the 14th. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. If you're on your way, we do have a couple of seats left, but you might want to hurry. Before we get into public comment, I just want to let everybody know tonight is our municipal attorney's last meeting with us. Dirk, he's retiring, been with Seacrest Wardell, I think, since what, 1857?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. And it's been wonderful to work with. I've worked with Dirk over the years here and in the city of Bloomfield Hills, and he's a wonderful municipal attorney. I can't tell you how many hours he puts in every day, and he comes in prepared. And for us, it's been such a great benefit and a pleasure to work with Dirk. And I know we can all say goodbye. We had a nice luncheon for him last week, and he's going to be missed. And I just know, Dirk, you might, if you want to say something, now's your chance.
Well, thank you, Mike, and I'll miss everybody in the board. I'll miss representing the community. It's been an honor and a privilege to represent Bloomfield Township for 30 plus years, and it's bittersweet, but it's time for me to go to the next chapter of my life, which is retirement. So thank you, everybody. And it's been great. Thanks.
Yeah, and you've earned it, and we'll miss you. Thank you for your service to the community.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, yep. Okay, moving on to our first item is a public comment. If you're here just to speak on any issue, if you'll step over to the microphone, the black microphone to my right, your left, feel free. We'll give you 3 minutes to go ahead and state your issue and introduce yourself and your address, please.
Okay. My name is Richard Graham. I live at 7208 Meadow Lake. I reside in the southwest corner of Bloomfield Township, where it intersects with West Bloomfield, Farmington Hills, and Franklin. I have lived in the township for 30 years, at this location for 24 years. When I first moved in, I enjoyed seeing the occasional deer, perhaps a couple times a week. Today, I'm witnessing at least 15 to 20 deer on a daily basis, deer traversing through mine and my neighbor's yard. This has impacted negatively the enjoyment of my outdoor space. They are destroying my landscape even after my efforts to regularly apply deer deterrents around the yard. The only way to keep them away is to chase them off the property, and of course, I am not always there to do that. The other concern I have is the danger to vehicles. We frequently see deer crossing the road in our neighborhood, but driving slowly allows us to avoid hitting them. The bigger problem is on the mile roads where you drive faster and do not have time to avoid them. Last year, I was sideswiped by a deer traveling down 12 Mile in adjacent Farmington Hills. There is an excellent overview of the subject that can be found on the Farmington Hills website that lays out the issues and discusses possible regional strategies. The article references the Southeast Deer Coalition, a group of 25 communities collaborating to manage the urban deer population. Farmington Hills is part of this coalition. To quote from the article, excessive deer populations pose safety risks, like deer vehicle collisions, and negatively impact the local environment by damaging landscapes and spreading diseases. Managing the deer population will help ensure a safer, healthier environment to everyone in the community. The article mentions 2 methods of managing the deer population, including organized professional deer call and a regulated archery hunt. What I take away from this article is that the key to managing the deer population is a regional approach. I would like to see Bloomfield Township participate in this effort and join the Urban Deer Coalition to do their part to effectively manage the deer population. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. Any other comments? Please feel free to come up to the microphone. If not, we'll close public comment and move on to item number 2, consider our consent agenda. Any changes anybody would like to make for the consent agenda? Now's your time.
Vouchers. I'd like item B removed.
Okay, B, and so we'll just make that 3A, Mark, okay?
Okay. Okay.
3A. And then can we have approval of the consent agenda, which is the board minutes?
So moved.
Support? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, passes 7-0. We'll move into now item number, we'll call it 3A, Mark, approval payroll and vouchers. You had some questions or comments on that?
I still have my same comments as before. Plus, we both received an email from Jason regarding the benefit payments on payroll on OPEB benefits. Those payments are never reflected in the vouchers. And I went back through a couple years to see if the payments were reflected, especially the contributions. And it's clear that they're not there. So, and that would also include the actuarially determined contributions for water and sewer.
Okay, all right, we'll go back and look at that for you and get a response. Any other questions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the 3A payroll and vouchers.
So moved.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, 6-1. Thank you. Item number 3, consider approval of the charitable gaming license submitted by the Jewish Historical Society of Michigan, presented by Catherine Kanjani. Did I pronounce that right, Catherine?
Good evening. It's Kangani. Like
Kangani. Thank
kangaroo.
you. I got you.
Thank you. I'm the executive director of Jewish Historical Society of Michigan. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. Our mailing address is in the township, and I'm here tonight to seek approval for a charitable gaming license for a raffle that we'd like to have at our upcoming spring fundraiser. JHSM was founded in 1959. We're known for our award-winning programs and publications, and amazingly, in our 65 years of history, this is our first time applying for a license. So that's why I'm here this evening.
Okay, thank you.
And I can report that the application is in order. All the elements required to for the license has been submitted and is in the packet.
Okay. Anything else? No. All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved, and good luck on
Support.
your event.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Pass. Okay, thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 4, consider approval of the 2025 water and sewer rate resolution presented by Noah Mahalski, our Public Works Director. Welcome, Noah.
Thank you. As you can see, it'll be a short one. For you, not much has changed since the last time I was here 2 weeks ago. Again, priorities for this year that we will see in action within the rates are matching the fixed fees for customers with 1 inch and 1.5 inch meters or service lines. Talking about some of the increases that we've seen overall, our staffing, our sewer maintenance costs, and our capital improvement projects are going up. And how do we kind of offset our increases from our suppliers? We're drawing down on reserves to do that. We got a little bonus after I talked to you guys that they were talking 5.38% for water, and they came back with 6%. But we've further been able to absorb that as well and still come in at the numbers of the 2% and 4% that I told you last time we met. So we've been able to further kind of internalize that cost and took on the risk for that. So much like my proposal a couple weeks ago, I'm proposing 2% on water and 4% on sewer. There are the resolutions that are required are included within your packet, but this is a visual display of what those resolutions speak to. And this is the 2% and 4% applied to the rates that we have currently, and then what I'm proposing. So the resolutions match that, and the resolutions are in your packet. So I would ask or recommend approval of the resolutions as proposed in your packet and set the rates.
Great. Any questions for Noah?
I do have some questions. The Township Central Services fees include treasury fees and on a cost basis for investment purposes. Do we get any investments from our reserves?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. Should we be paying that fee if we're not getting any benefit?
Well, central services I know is like all the services were provided. So, and they do a study on that, and the recommendation is followed through. So.
Yes, so there's about a $90,000 expense to water and sewer for managing investments. You had, at the end of the last financial year, you had over $20 million, and we have no investment income. That would go a long way to set up, offset a lot of the increases we see this year. And the board approved the central services fees based on a 180-page study, but there's no benefit for paying that expense. So I would like the board to consider a way to generate some revenues based on those fees. The board could release, for example, monthly financial statements following best practices recommended by the state of Michigan, and do a weighted cost average, and based on the different fund balances, and segregate that portion out for water and sewer, help us reduce rates. I think that would be beneficial. I don't know if the board would approve that or consider it. But when you have $20 million and no investment income, and about $4 million coming into the general fund, I do think that's, it doesn't seem right. So I will be voting no on that item for that reason. The other reason, the board's policy on OPEB is rather unusual because we split money out, gave us a chance to get money in several years ago. Water and sewer had funds, building inspection had funds, cable studio had funds, and it allowed the township to move money into the sub-accounts for OPEB. Well, water and sewer is now fully funded, and in a fully funded account for OPEB for the state of Michigan, there's no requirement to make additional payments or pay for benefits. So that typically runs over $200,000 a year for the township, from what I've seen in the GASB disclosures. So I think that's another area that could be considered for cost savings for water and sewer as well. And the other issue is you'd mentioned to me that there was a $1 million reservoir tank, or a $1 million gallon reservoir tank,
Mm-hmm.
and we budget out our units are based on 1,000 gallons, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that would mean that's 1,000 units of water could be purchased and recycled on a daily basis. GLE was offering 30% discounts on water. So if we save $1 per unit of water, that's $1,000 a day. That's $365,000 a year. That's over $1 million of reduced expenses that could help pay
We are
for the
currently
increase.
using that tank to lower that rate by pumping at night.
I do
We
not
just
see.
don't have the volume.
I do not see a second rate from Sakwa for
That's
buying.
factored within your storage capabilities are factored into your base rate. So if we were to go
But
and
we
build,
do not have two rates from Sakwa for buying. We don't have a separate rate
Correct.
approved
It's
from
factored into
Sakwa
the rate
for buying
overall.
water at night. And if GLE was offering a 30% discount for buying water at night to other communities, that would that's a potential benefit for us, and we're not taking.
I have not seen that discount, but I assume it's tied to the level that the capacity of which you can hold water, and that making like our 1 million gallon tank is a drop in the bucket.
But it is 1,000 units that we charge, and that times 1,000 gets up to 1 million gallons a day. And if your water rates that you showed us, if we save $1 on what we're charging the customers, that would be $365,000 a year. That's a significant savings that we're not doing anything, it appears, to make use of lowering the expenses for our residents.
My opinion would be that that's included within the rate that we're given. It's not called out as a separate rate for pumping during a certain time, but it is factored into our rate. Our capability to store is factored into the rate.
From Sakwa or
Yeah.
our rate to the customers?
Our rate from Sakwa.
So how would Sakwa factor that in?
through their rate methodology, it's
So
a factor within the
we
rate.
have the same price as Bloomfield Hills City. So if it's factored in, our rate should be different from Bloomfield Hills
I
City.
don't
and
know
they're
how
not.
their system, I don't know how their rate is determined versus ours, but I'm just saying at the base, our ability to store water is factored within Saukwa's rate because they benefit by that.
And again, that means there's no fact basis in their meetings to support that, though. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'll take a motion. Go ahead.
Fine. First, I want to thank you for getting all the information to us and what you're able to do. Showing rates of 10 and 6% rate increases, what we're getting, to bring that down to our customers at 4 and 2 is huge. That shows not only that we're trying to stick to the methodology that we've always talked about of smoothing out those rate increases so our residents aren't seeing this ups and downs. It continues to have a good water and sewer system that is reliant, and we don't have those water problems. So again, thank you for continuing to do that, and thank you for finding a way to smooth out those rate increases so we're not seeing those huge increases like other communities are seeing because they don't have the capability like we do to smooth out those rates. Again, 10 to 6% are being passed along to other customers in our area, and we have been able to do that. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
And though if we were to buy into a water storage facility for our community to help really go after what Mark's referring to is the discounted rate from Saukwa, how many gallons of
We're
storage?
going to have our engineers look at that.
Okay.
My 30 million gallons, 30 times the amount of storage that we have right now
Right.
is what I had heard off the cuff in engineering meetings, but the engineers will tell us, and then it'll come down to the NIMBY argument, nobody wants a 30 million gallon tank.
No, and you
know.
told me, I think you told me too, 40% of our water usage during spring and summer is for irrigation, I believe, right? And
So
the
we
rest
would
is
have
for-
no cost benefit in the winter months because your usage drops by 30% at
Right.
that point. Yeah.
It's basically tackling the irrigation issue.
Right.
And the fact that our houses are spread so far apart with large lots, water needs to travel
Yep.
that
We
much
have-
further, which means we have to fill those lines, right?
We have less people per square mile in Bloomfield, so we pay more because we have more hoses going across that territory.
Right.
And also the topography that we're not flat as
Yeah.
some of our surrounding communities certainly adds a great deal to our costs. And to go along with what Chris said, I appreciate everything you've done and that your team have done to really bring it down the rates down as much as you can, considering where Great Lakes started from. I mean, they were starting at 10%.
Right.
And then they brought it down a little, but still, you have used your due diligence and done what you've been able to do to bring it down and to make it as fair as possible to our customers, our residents, but at the same time, making sure that we are contributing to the overall capital improvements and having assets there, because we don't want to go through what some of the other communities have gone through, where they have water issues, whether it's lead, whether there's other purification issues, multiple breaks. So I commend you for all that you and your team have done. And with that said, I'm
I have a
ready.
question.
Yep. come on.
How is it that we are able to absorb those increases? So we're going to be paying, you said, a 10 and a 6% increase from our suppliers, and we're passing along a 2% and a 4% increase to our customers. How are we able to absorb that?
There's a couple factors at play. One is our commodity costs aren't the entire cost to run the operation. So then we can limit those costs by controlling our internal costs and kind of bringing that down. Plus, it's prudent use of reserves to be within our risk and comfort levels for our reserve amounts. And in this case, drawing down on those reserves to offset those rate increases. All while kind of planning, like I talked about last time, for these large Maple Road, these huge projects that we have coming up, to try and prevent that large swing in the rates that our residents have told us. We want rate stability. We want to have an even rate. So,
Right.
and that's beneficial to the system too.
So at our forecast for the rates, how much of our reserve are we planning to use?
I believe it was $1.5 million come out of it. By the end, it was a little bit more because we went from 5.38 to 6%, and we felt like we could eat that cost. So about $1.5 million, I believe.
Okay.
How much
If
did-
all goes well and sunny days equal rainy days and all the assumptions that go into this come to fruition.
Right, and the reason that we're maintaining the reserve that we have aside from that 1.5 million is because in 2 years, right, 2 or 3 years, we're going to do a large project on Maple Road that we're currently estimating to cost around $6 million.
6 or 7, yeah.
$6 or $7 million, depending on where costs go. And rather than pass on that huge cost at that time to the ratepayers, or take on more debt by selling bonds, we're forecasting to maintain a healthy reserve so that we can absorb that without hitting the customers badly or affecting our balance sheet.
Yes, sir.
Right.
And or diminishing quality of service.
Right, of course.
You know what I mean? That's
Right.
kind of the
Well,
other end of
maintain,
it.
of course, we maintain the quality of service, but yeah. So, okay, I just wanted to bring that to light because we have heard from people about, the reserve that the water and sewer department has. And, we have it for emergencies and we have it for long-term capital planning. And in this case, because we do have some reserve that we feel we can use to absorb a year where we've got large rate increases from our suppliers. So we can help cushion that for our customers.
Yes.
So I appreciate I appreciate what you've done here, and I think our ratepayers will as well.
How much did the reserves, what's the value of the reserves right now?
I had it, I have a note, so it's like 4.5 million, so we'll try and bringing it down to the 3 that is our goal.
In the audit, it was 34 million, the audit from last year.
I'm
So-
talking about the surplus reserves are that amount.
So then what are the total reserves? I mean, is the audit
I think we
accurate?
said 7 million. I can get you those numbers. It was in the last presentation. We have the pot of money that is for to flatten, because we have bills coming in every month and we flatten the curve because we only collect on a quarterly basis. So we have a portion of the reserve for that. Then we have 7 million for emergencies. Then the rest is surplus.
So in the audit from the last financial year, ending in 2024, it was 34 million in the audit.
Okay.
That went up from 24 to 34 million in 1 year. Okay?
I would have to clarify what the audit is looking at. I don't know if it includes depreciated value of the system in there.
That's the number Jason Tice takes and places in Munetrix.
Okay. I'll clarify what's
that's not a
actually in
cash
the
number.
pots. Right.
Yeah, the
Is
cash
it
was over
cash?
$20 million, and we had,
Cash is less than that.
in the audit, a year ago, I checked the number.
I don't know what audit you're looking at. I
The
don't have it.
township audit.
Well, I don't have it in front of me, but I can tell you that our current cash reserves are between 17 and 18 million.
Does that included the expenses that went out in February and March after we received payments in June? I mean, not in June, but in January.
Yes.
So that means the overall reserves that we have access to are significantly higher.
The cash reserves are between 17 and 18 million. And the number that Noah was referring to of 3 to 4 million in surplus is because we have a $7 million operational reserve and a $6 million capital reserve. So that's 13 million. And the difference is about 4 million.
Your memory serves you well.
Thank you.
And again, the only
My
number
wife
I
would
can
disagree.
the only number I can go by is what's in the audit, because that's the only number that's been released.
Okay, but we'll
So-
verify
Okay.
that.
Can I
Yeah,
just
we
say
can
thank
verify
you-
that.
Thank you, Michael, for your awesome memory. And Noah, been sitting here listening to these water rates every year, and I trust you guys take excellent care. I've had 2 water main breaks across the street from my house since I've lived here. They get taken care of. That's all part of the cost, and I trust you and I thank you.
So we have a motion for the water. We have to do 2 motions here, 2 votes. So
Yeah, I'll
Martin?
make a motion
Neil.
that we we accept the resolution for the water rates.
Okay,
Support.
support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, 6-1. And then now the sewer rate. We need a motion for the sewer rate.
So
Motion.
moved.
Okay, support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Move it along.
What was the motion again
Sewer rate.
for the sewer rate? Opposed.
Okay, 6-1. Thank you. Okay, item number 5. Informational presentation regarding excellence in snow and ice control award presented by Noah Mahalski. Noah, welcome back.
Thanks. So we get to blow the horn here. Dwayne Poole, come on up here. And I'll point you out, Paul, but you don't have to stand up here because you're getting up here soon. So, right. Amen to that. Okay, so we are honored as a road department here at Bloomfield Township to have received the Excellence in Snow and Ice Control Award from the American Public Works Association. This is a award, national or North American award, actually. So there was one winner from Canada, but there's people from Canada in there, Mexico, even though we don't think they have snow, that type of stuff. But we're one of four entities to win the award. Established to kind of shed light on the things that we do on a continual basis, right? And it goes a lot farther than just pushing the snow off the road, right? We have our chloride program that we're very proud of here at the township, and you guys have supported in a funding aspect. That will help us meet environmental goals. It helps us put a better product out there for the residents, and we're being recognized as one of the best in the country and in North America. So I think that's notable. Very much in large part due to the activities of Dwayne Poole, who's going to retire from the township in December. I like to call Dwayne a change agent. Right. And it's important, even though I'm kind of change averse to some degree, that you have people like Dwayne in your organization because they do move you forward. Right. And they put you in that uncomfortable position. That's what Dwayne has done. I don't know if you know this, but he's recognized, throughout the state as being a major player in public works. He was the president of the Michigan chapter at APWA. He serves on the national board that does all the trainings throughout the country on behalf of the APWA, and we're lucky enough to have him on our staff here and for a very long time and in leadership. So the application and the kind of categories that they use to stratify people are your SOPs, your preparation ahead of time, your equipment, that type of stuff. This shows our chloride station there. It's really state of the art. We're just kind of we're area limited here on campus, so we have it shoved into that area there. But that's state of the art chloride manufacturing, and we have a fill system that fills it right there at the truck. Again, environmental side plus salt is getting expensive, so we can move. We can utilize more salt or less salt. Sorry. Equipment, we're in the middle of a upfit that it's going to be a 15-20 year process to get all of our trucks upfitted so we can carry more liquids. Our trucks are geared at hard material right now, so we're changing the dynamics of how that box is in the back. We're doing the swap loaders that'll allow us to take different equipment off of the trucks and put it on depending on summer and winter usage, rather than having just a specialized winter equipment truck. This is what the inside of a plow truck looks like. And then we've actually added 2 more screens to that, right? So from when these guys were pulling levers to now there's 4 joysticks up there, there's 38 buttons, and now there's 3 monitors in front of people as they're moving out there. Then my aspect, Dwayne participates in this as well, but we do a lot of community outreach with the help of the cable department. Time of service type announcements to people. If we do a snow emergency, we'll get that out there to people, or just try to get them kind of in alignment with what our battle plans are going forward throughout a storm, and kind of use them as partnership in that. So, and then there's just it shows our chloride tanks in there. Again, very proud of that. We're probably number 4 or 5 in the state right now as far as building our program out. So now it's going to take time to have the trucks get upfitted, and we're not going to get rid of equipment early, so we'll retrofit stuff, and any new equipment that we buy will be geared up for this. So we were presented the award in Grand Rapids last week in front of a couple thousand people from throughout the country. So they, and Alaska and Chile and a few from Canada too. So from all over. And I know we were recognized throughout it. I know Farmington Hills reached out because they won the award 10 or 11 years ago. And they're great colleagues in that. And then kind of a little more recognition. You see Dwayne in there. These are the other people from across the state that won it. We were advertised at the event then. And then down here on the far end, that is your, the leaders of your road department, minus Paul. He was doing other leadership training. But on the end, that's Marco Nervo. He'll be taking over for Dwayne when Dwayne retires. Dwayne's there next to me. That's me. Then there's Glenn Wood, who's an operator for us. He's got 15 plus years in. James Davis, father was a policeman here, and now he's worked with us for 15 years. Jeff Kruskoff is on the left side, and he's our crew leader in the road department too. So they were all there to witness this award being presented to us. It's a big thing. I feel very proud to represent the work that he does and the work that my department does, from water to roads. This is right where I want to be, and you are getting the best service, bar none, here at Bloomfield Township. So, and we were competing against major, other entities from throughout the state, like road commissions, big, huge operations. There was a Metropolitan Airport Authority. City of Barrington, Illinois was another winner. So this is the category that you're in. So I figured that was worth recognizing. Come up and talk to you guys a little bit about it. I was going to be here already. I do like the award. So it's pretty, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it even came
very
with white
proud of you.
gloves that
Yeah,
don't fit my hands. But
So very proud of you, and
Yeah,
congratulations. And Dwayne, congratulations. And you're retiring? When's your last day?
It'll be the first week of January.
Okay, well,
what
thank
I'm
you for your
looking for.
service, and you're leaving
you.
us in very good situation, so thank you. I couldn't ask for anything more from an employee.
Thanks so much.
it is truly the team that makes this happen, right? I'm just the big guy that talks loud up front.
That's wonderful.
We're all going to go over there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 7, it's a public hearing. We'll open up a public hearing.
Item six.
Six, sorry, I was jumping ahead there. Item number 6, 2025 Cape Seal Project, presented by Paul Horn, our Public Works Superintendent. Hi, Paul, welcome.
Thank you, Board. Again, I want to, this is my almost 3rd year here, and like Noah said, I was at a leadership training while they were there, and every time I go to those trainings, I just sit back and appreciate Bloomfield even more and more each time I come back. Hearing other municipalities' story from the inside, I'm hearing it from employees and whatnot, and when I come back, it's like I want to give all these guys a hug every time, because it's like, the team that's built here is, reasons why, we're getting those national awards. Not just anybody gets those. And again, meeting Dwayne is an amazing person, inside and out, right? He'll drop anything for anybody. So Dwayne, I thank you very much, buddy. And thank you for everything you do as well. And I'm not going to let you leave in January.
Get back in
I
that truck
think
and
we have
start
to
driving.
sign that to approve it, right?
Voluntary discharge.
Correct. Anyway, thank you for that moment of talk about Dwayne. Anyway, I'm here to present the contract award for the 2025 Cape Seal project. I did present this last year, but to go through it quickly again, the Cape Seal process is designed to extend the life of asphalt roads that are in fair to good conditions. This method involves material being sprayed on the pavement, on the asphalt roads, on the pavement, and covered with fine chips, sand sometimes, and then covered with a micro seal that seals the pavement and bonds the area that the areas that may be cracking. So it extends the life of the asphalt roads before you have to do a complete tear out or a overlay. This method is utilized in other communities and is allowed by RCOC as a pavement preservation process on county roads. We first utilized this process in 2018. We kind of did it as a pilot program. And in that area that was done, since then, that area was well known for potholes. We were always out there filling potholes in that area. And since then, there last we checked, there has since 2018, since we did it, there's only been maybe one call to come in that area to do pothole. So that this is a good process that lasts. They say it lasts around 5 to 7 years, but it's extending way past that timeline. We did it again last year, and we liked it so much in 2018 and again last year that we want to keep this on our annual pavement preservation program. This Cape Seal project will consist of about spreading the Cape Seal product about 2.5 miles of roadway. So we're able to get, with a limited budget, we're able to preserve more miles of road to extend the life of it with this product. And that's why we like it so much. We're able to touch more out of the 213 miles of roads we have. Mm-hmm. We're able to touch more with the limited budget, right? It's also important to note that without this process, those areas would not even receive any pavement preservation. They would basically be on the pothole list until it got to something else, to where we either used a few dollars for pavement, asphalt overlay, or it goes to an SAD or whatnot. So the great point about this is if it wasn't for this, those areas wouldn't be, we would have to wait for them to get worse, pretty much, or maintain them like we are now. We put the Cape Seal project out to bid, with the lowest and only bidder being Pavement Maintenance System, LLC. With that said, it is our recommendation that the contract be awarded to Pavement Maintenance System, LLC for the completion of the 2025 Cape Seal project. The budget for this program is not to exceed $350,000. If you guys have any other questions.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. When you use this process, the Cape Seal process, how much added life to a road do we get?
So, like I said, their specs say anywhere between 5 and 7 years,
Okay.
but that's, we're finding out that it's actually lasting longer. Like I said, the area that we did in 2018. Now that also you got to keep in play of the area. Maybe if it's in a more watered down area, a more groundwater area, maybe they don't last as long. But so far, what we've done, it's lasted. It's exceeding its life expectancy.
And can it work on both cement roads and
No.
asphalt pavement?
No, from my knowledge, no.
Just asphalt?
Correct. Cement roads, you can't overlay on top of those. I mean,
Even if you scrape them?
no.
Okay.
No.
Well, and Paul, I think if
It wouldn't. It wouldn't
Okay.
bond to the cement and all that like it does to the asphalt. Yeah.
I think, not realizing, but my subdivision was probably in part of that pilot in 2018, because it's been many years since you did it. And our subdivision, we had taken it from dirt to asphalt in the 80s, and then our roads were in serious trouble. We were calling you guys with potholes. My subdivision board, I was not part of the township at that time, was calling and calling. We were trying to get a whole new road, and we couldn't pass it. And you guys came along and tried the Cape Seal.
Mm-hmm.
If that was 2018, this is 2025. Our roads are still, we have slight cracking. It's amazing. I mean, you guys did this for certain areas because we couldn't pass it. And we are, my neighbors and all, we're very, very impressed. I don't know if we're the one that kept calling about potholes, but it's surprisingly in very good shape. And I happened to drive through a neighborhood last year, right after you did the last year's project. And I said, did you guys just get new roads? Because I didn't remember seeing this mess of the road paving. And they were like, no, we got this new thing. And I was like, oh, because it looked like brand new road again.
Yep.
So I have to say from personal experience, I think it works out great. Thank you.
It is a great product.
Yeah, it is. No, I remember when we started it. It's always been very beneficial. It really does what it's advertised to do. My only question is, with this particular vendor, have you spoken to any communities that have used them?
Yes, I believe we actually have used them. Correct.
Okay, so
Yeah,
this was the only, but it was the only.
Correct. Correct. So there's only two players that actually do this
Got it.
process.
Okay.
One company
Mhm.
does like a cape seal with like they call it slurry top.
Yeah.
We're asking for a micro seal top, and the pavement maintenance they're the only ones that do that process.
Okay.
So there's only two, and we've actually worked with both of them.
Okay, good
So,
enough.
yes.
All right, thank you.
What's the difference between the slurry top and the micro top?
Well, the micro top seals the top a lot more. It doesn't allow stuff to bleed through. Where like a slurry seal, and we've experienced this too in some areas where when the sun beats down and it gets super hot, that some of that gooey tarry stuff will bleed through the top, and then it tracks on the road and whatnot. Where with the micro seal, that covers all that and it prevents all that from happening.
The sun doesn't soften it.
No, correct.
Any other questions?
So basically the coefficient of the expansion is lower?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. It just doesn't allow things to bleed through. It's still movable. It still kind of floats with what's below it as well.
Flexible.
Yes, it's flexible. Correct. It just doesn't.
It does not become as liquid. The viscosity does not
Correct.
increase as much with the warm weather, and it retains the shape of the cracks better than the slurry.
Correct. Well,
Yeah.
with anything, when you put anything over things that crack, eventually you will see the cracks exposing themselves. Eventually, at some point.
But if you can extend the amount of time that the material will retain its elasticity,
Correct.
without getting wear and tear, then it's a better solution for the residents.
Correct.
Okay, I'd like to have a motion to approve.
So moved. Thank you very much for
Support.
presenting
Support.
that.
Yep.
Thank you, Paul. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, 7-0. Thank you, Paul. All right, item number 7, a public hearing to consider amendments to the zoning ordinance. Ordinance number 693, the multiple family residential accessory use in B2 Community Business District, presented by Patty Volker, Director of Planning and Building. Hi, Patty.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hi. So tonight we are asking you to take action on a request to amend our zoning ordinance as we described at your last meeting. This, excuse me, specifically relates to our B2 district. This ordinance is asking the board to consider making an amendment to allow accessory uses that are generally permitted in our RM multiple family districts to also be permitted in our B2 community business district when it's for the convenience of the residents of the abutting RM district development. Customary incidental uses found in multiple family residence could be clubhouses, pools, cabanas, sport courts, open space parks, walking paths, and so forth. And these accessory uses are intended to be addressed as they would be applicable in the RM district standards. Now, this came into play as we have been approached by a development that you'll be seeing a little bit later on the agenda, which is at the northern end of these ordinance, or excuse me, of the township. And to go over those examples, here is a location at South Boulevard and Squirrel. We'll be talking about the Noble. In this instance, you're seeing where there's a B2 district immediately abutting the RM. So the ordinance is looking to allow for those RM multiple family uses to be located within a B2 zoned property if it's immediately abutting, and also it's for the benefit of those RM multiple family residents. Another location is at Squirrel Lake and Woodward, the Avalon Assisted Living. Again, you're seeing that relationship of the B2 and the RM. Another is at Long Lake and Telegraph, the Devon Square and Willow Way condos, which are wrapping around that B2 district. The other is Maple Road and Telegraph, the Foxcroft condos, just a small portion is abutting. And then lastly, Maple Road and Telegraph, the Sunrise Assisted Living, where you can see that adjacency on that southern end of the Bloomfield Plaza Shopping Center. So the ordinance is intended, as I said, to really address what we have found within our ordinance just presently as it is written, where when we have these uses that are compatible with what the intent is of the zone district, even of the abutting properties, that it is not incongruent or incompatible, but actually it's supporting the same intentions of being a support for the residents, which is in a global way is what the B2 community business is intended, is to serve that larger community. This recommendation went before the Planning Commission on January 20th. That public hearing was held, which comments were made that eventually the board took action to forward on a recommendation that's being presented in your packet tonight for adoption. The ordinance is number 693. It has been noticed and published accordingly, so we're asking the board to take consideration of adopting ordinance number 693 as presented this evening.
Thank you, Patty. And this is a public hearing, so if you're here to make a comment on this item number 7, I can ask that you come up to the microphone and state your name and address and any comment you have on this issue. We're here to listen to it. If there's no public comment, I'll close the public hearing and open up to the board for any questions or comments.
I guess I have a quick comment. At the last meeting, Clerk Brooke brought up something, and I really appreciate it. He talked about how this ordinance change came to light because we had businesses coming to our community and they were having some barriers or some challenges. And they came to our PBO and worked with our PBO in order to get across the finish line of what purposeful development would be with our strategic plan. And you guys worked with them to find creative solutions to these problems. And Clerk Brooke brought this up, and I think it's a testament to your department and what you guys do. Bloomfield is open for business. We're open for purposeful and meaningful investment, and you guys are here to help. You're not a barrier, you're literally here to help. And this is a testament right here of getting things done and across the finish line. And I'm just really proud to be part of a community like this and to see how great you guys are. Again, he brought it up last meeting. I just wanted to make sure we hit this home again. Really, I do appreciate it because I've always heard that it's hard to get certain projects done or it's hard to get across the finish line. When you work with the people that we have, we can get you there. So this is a testament to it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Chris. Any other comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I
We
do
gotta
have,
open up for
Mark.
public.
Mark?
I do have a question. How is the master plan updated regarding the land usage and the maps when the abutting facilities, these variances are granted?
Okay, so the master plan is an overreaching guide for development in a community, and it speaks to land uses in a very broad way. Those recommendations then are funneled into implementation plans, ordinance adoptions, and also a zoning map. And so the zoning map that you see that we've identified, even with these amendments, are still consistent with the master plan's recommendations and accomplishments, if you will, because we are at the end of that 20-year run, if you will, of our 2007 update. And so this amendment is consistent, and it bears, as you will see with our next proposal, with a request before you, that it's consistent with that master plan, even amended, it is consistent.
But how is it captured on the master plan? That's the question I asked, whether or not it's consistent or not. How is it captured on the master plan? During the last meeting, you had mentioned that typically the developer would go in and seek approval for changing the master plan. And this provides a way for them to get around that issue. Now, if someone came in and looked at the master plan, how would they know that these variances and changes were granted if there's never a change in the master plan itself?
It doesn't get around the master plan. It's consistent with the master plan as shown on the master plan map.
Yes.
So there's
Changes are needed.
no changes are needed.
Correct.
But if someone looked at the map, they would say this property where this pool is located goes into the B2 district.
Right. And now you're going to allow that kind of use in a B2 district, so it's consistent with the master plan.
That is correct.
And the other projects that you had mentioned, those are right now not consistent with the master plan?
No, they're not. Those are just locations where there is a budding RM property to B2 property. I wanted to make sure that the board understood that this is not an isolated application, that there's opportunities elsewhere within the township. Should those multiple family development seek some amenities that possibly could not be accommodated on their premises, that it could be on adjoining property that they would acquire, but at a different classification. So this is not isolated or unique to just the proposal that is not on the agenda, or not on the what we're discussing now, that's going to be following. So it is consistent with, as Dirk has indicated, with the recommendations of the master plan and that guide that the master plan offers the township.
But it's not consistent to what's mapped out originally as B2.
Yes, it is.
It is.
You're not getting
And
it.
It's
And it
completely
is-
consistent with it.
And how is that a business district is consistent with the residential
Because
district?
by amending the ordinance, you are allowing these uses in a B2.
So you
business
have to
district.
amend the ordinance
You're
to
not-
allow it.
That's what we're doing.
Okay, so typically in this situation, if we didn't amend the ordinance, they would have to come in and amend the master plan.
If you didn't amend the ordinance, I can see the argument, but we are amending the ordinance, so the argument
Well,
does-
the vote-
has no applicability here because that's not the scenario we're presented with.
Okay.
Make a motion that we adopt the ordinance number 693 as presented.
And support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
6-1, thank you. Okay, item number 8, public hearing to consider rezoning request proposed ordinance number 694 and site plan for expansion of the Noble Residential Development, presented by Patty Volker, our Director of Planning and Building Ordinance. Welcome back, Patty.
Thank you. So we went through quite a detailed presentation at the last meeting. To summarize, back in 2018, many of you may recall, we had a proposal where the developer was looking to develop attached multiple family rental units at the southwest corner of South Boulevard and Squirrel. And then the corner property was retained as a commercial development. It was pretty extensive going through that process. It involved a amendment to the master plan. It involved lot splits, rezonings, wetlands. I mean, you name it. We touched upon it with that project. And so we now have the owner who has undergone the development of the project. It's now referenced as the Noble. You can see in the aerial the development as it has been progressing. And they have been now looking to present to the township a proposal to take the entire development, so not just the 9.8 acres it presently is encompassing, but adding to that the 2.32 acres of that commercial parcel that you're seeing in the aerial, for a total of 12,000 a little bit over 12,000 acre for the entire development to be known as the Noble. Part of the request is to take that property, that 2.32 acre, and shown is it's adding a additional building with 5 residential units, as well as the detention basin that you're seeing to the left of the screen, and then at the corner, which is at South Boulevard and Squirrel, you're seeing the amenities that are intended to serve those residents of the Noble. And so when we spoke of at the amendment that was adopted just prior, where we have clubhouse, we have park area, it's a dog park, you have a pool, gazebo, landscape elements, parking to support the clubhouse, the service needs to be able to maintain that area, as well as landscaping, signage, and so forth. What's important to look at the site plan is that it's doing several things that was a real issue at the time that this went before the the township in 2018. And that is, it's eliminating a curb cut along South Boulevard, which was supposed to be dedicated to that commercial property. Now this is an additional, only one of two driveways for access to the Noble. And also you'll notice that there's no access to Squirrel. That was a major issue with the adjacent residents, being concerned with that traffic congestion and circulation concerns. That has been eliminated. So the green space, the separation of the project to the adjacent single-family residential, which is surrounding this property, it is now well buffered, if you will, and presented in this fashion. So this is showing the demarcation of the rezoning portion, which is on the left side, that portion that is to be rezoned to the RM to accommodate that new building, and then the B2 will remain at the corner, the remaining portion, to be consistent with the B2 zoning classification and also the master plan. So this is the end result of looking at the landscaping as well, really carrying on all those beautiful amenities that are part of the Noble. It's now continuing on, so it's no doubt when someone's driving along South Boulevard that this is all encompassing the residential development. The landscaping is intended to buffer well the residents and also those residential uses at the corner, which is intended to provide recreation and activities for just the residents. So even with the irregular shaped lot, it being a corner lot, they clearly are blending it well into the development and still allowing that cross access to the south, because the south of this site plan, as you're seeing with that drive, is now going into the rest of the 9 acres, which is the development. And here another reflection of that detail continuing on, that reference to the Noble, and then here is a colored impression of the landscape plan, and just looking at the intention and the intensity, and certainly a very welcomed corner that's really depicting Bloomfield Township. So the applicant has thoughtfully presented a clubhouse pulling features of the residential development to have an amenity that will allow for a variety of different uses for the residents' enjoyment. And then behind it is a pool, a gazebo, and then the garden areas. And you can see in this rendering that is their enclosed area for a dog park, and then also the landscaping that you'll see along Squirrel. The clubhouse floor plan is part of your packet, so it's detailed of all that would be offered to the residents. Whether it's the leasing office, there's a cafe, there's gathering room, there's male and female restroom facilities, and other areas that they could gather in and enjoy. There also is the details of the clubhouse, patio, and fencing, because it is a pooled area. Landscaping is very reserved, intending just to, again, illuminate as needed. And also reflect the illumination and the lighting plan. That's the rest of the Noble residents. So those details were provided. And again, pulling in those materials and colors that are found within the development, material board, and then the floor plan. So the consistent with this floor plan is the attached 2-car garage to the unit, and then identifying the unit itself, having 2 bedrooms with an optional 3rd bedroom, all of which meets the density requirements of the zone district. And this is a reflection of the residential building, again, what is presently out there that you can see today, that is presently being occupied by our new Bloomfield residents. And then this is the area that you can tell from the perspective of what is intended to be improved upon and then blend well, as it was intended to originally be one complete development. So this went before the design review board. Let me just get you to a site plan. Here we go, use this one. So this went before the design review board initially to go through these elements. One thing to point out is because of the uniqueness of this corner lot and those amenities are all considered accessory uses or accessory structures, inherently then had to go before the zoning board of appeals. So all of those elements that I was speaking of all ended up having to go to the zoning board of appeals because of their location in a frontage. So it was either the Squirrel frontage or the South Boulevard frontage. But the zoning board did hold a public hearing and identified all those variances, and those were acted upon by the board at their March 11th, 2025 zoning board of appeals. This proposal did receive a letter from the Bloomfield North Estates Homeowners Association in full support of their request, and that was reflected at the zoning board of appeals meeting. The departments had opportunity to review this proposal: fire department, police department, engineering, environmental services. Their review also included our engineering consultants report from Hubble, Roth, and Clark, all of which finding that the plan as presented is in a position to be approved by the township board, and then subsequent engineering permitting plans and reviews would be subsequent with any approval. The board this evening is being asked two things. One is to consider adoption of Ordinance 694 to change the zoning classification for that portion of the property that is to be rezoned to the RM to accommodate that building, one-story residential building with the 5 residential units. And then following that would be a recommendation to review and approve the site plan as submitted with the documentation, as presented, and all the information documentation as presented in your packet. We're suggesting that under your consideration of that final site plan, that you consider compliance with the requirements of the township departments, compliance with the requirements of the township's landscape architect, and then lastly, authorize the township attorney to prepare and execute the amendments to the previous consent judgments pursuant to the approved site plans and conditions duly noted by the respective township review bodies. This has quite a history to this property and its initial development when it was initially developed as Burlington Shopping Center in the 60s and leading to 70s. So those are the various consent judgments that we are referencing, and I know Dirk is very familiar with those as he worked on those in 2018, and I'm sure we'll pass along those to his office.
Thank you, Patty. And then it's a public hearing, so if you're here to speak upon this item number 8, the public hearing to reconsider the zoning 694 and the site plan expansion, now's your time to come up to the microphone to my right, your left, and you can speak, introduce yourself, your name and address. If not, we'll close the public hearing and open up to the board for any comments or questions.
I was just going to make a comment. This is a significant improvement. First of all, going back to that eyesore of a shopping center that used to be there, which we had so many complaints about. But it's even an improvement to this original site plan. And as you and I both know, because we were there at the beginning of it, that there was a lot of controversy, but there were 2 different owners involved at the time. So I'm confident if there was only one, if this developer was the one owner, we would have had all of this developed at one time. So with that said, it certainly is a tremendous improvement to the site plan, to the entrance of the township, and it certainly is something that is something to be very pleased about. So, thank you.
Yeah, I also would like to commend it. I think the layout, it comes together, like Neil said, as if this was planned maybe from the beginning, even though it wasn't, or the property wasn't available. But between the eyesore of the property, the lack of development, this has fewer curb cuts, fewer traffic in and out. It's more appealing to the residents. It's more appealing to anybody driving by, I'm sure, than what we have there right now. I think it looks great, and I'm happy to support it.
Any other comments or questions? Otherwise, I'll take a.
Is there any reason why the additional entrance is needed? Going in and out?
Well, there is a review by our fire marshal and the fire department to make sure we have full access and circulation. It also allows for if there is any access from the clubhouse to South Boulevard, it's a little bit more direct route as opposed to having to traverse through the development to be able to then exit, the other curb cut. The road commission is supportive of eliminating the curb cut that was formerly approved with that commercial project because that was even closer to the intersection. So it's sited well as it functions both for public safety, but also just from the circulation needs of the development.
Yeah, if you have a chance, go drive through it. It's really a nice development. And I think they also have a model home that you can walk through, I believe. Is that right, Michael? Yeah, they have a model home. I walked through it, really well done. I think there were 2 or 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 2-car garage, and this is rental property. Very well done, very, very well maintained.
Absolutely.
And actually, when I went through it, some of the police were driving through it too, which was great to see as well. So, yeah, I encourage you to go take a look at it if you haven't had a chance. Any other comments? If not, I'll take a motion.
Make a motion, we adopt ordinance number 694.
Support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Before you vote.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't quick enough. As well as approve the site plan subject to the conditions.
Yeah, I didn't know if we needed two different.
Yeah, we'll do it all in one.
You can do
Okay.
it. You can do 2 separate.
No, that's
if you
fine,
want.
along with the site plan and all of the recommendations that are included in the packet.
Okay.
Support.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 7-0. Great. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
All right, number 9, public hearing to consider a site plan and special land use request concerning Sidecar Slider Bar Restaurant with a Class C liquor license at 1952 South Telegraph Road, presented by Andrea Vivi, our Deputy Director of Planning, Building, and Ordinance. Welcome.
Good evening, Board. Thank you. I am here this evening to present to you a request on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Gary Glorio. He is seeking approval to occupy within the existing Bloomfield Marketplace Shopping Center, which is highlighted on your screen. This is directly, immediately north of Carl's Golf Land on the west side of Telegraph Road, north of Square Lake. The request to be located within the shopping center is to occupy the end tenant 3 of the tenant end spaces. Actually, I apologize. Maybe it was a total of 4. This space was previously occupied by Big B Coffee and High Octane. You may be familiar with those previous operators. The parcel is listed is zoned B3, community business or general business. And the purpose of the B3 classification is for commercial uses to be located for a commercial uses, suburban style commercial uses such as big box and other destination oriented retail, service, and restaurant opportunities intended to attract visitors from the outside the immediate area. So that is the purpose of the uses and intent of the B3 classification. With this proposal, again, the request is to occupy a total of 4,100 square feet of the shopping center for a new restaurant known as Sidecar Slider Bar Restaurant and a Class C liquor license located at 1952 Telegraph Road. Our zoning ordinance, the request, again, for the use is hours of operation to include 11 a.m. to 12 midnight, Monday through Sunday. Special land use review and approval by the Township Board is required for both the Class C liquor license request as well as the extended hours of operation going beyond 9 p.m. I do want to note that there are other businesses along the Telegraph corridor which also do have extended hours of operation. Hours of operation along South Telegraph Road, north of Square Lake, range between 5:30 a.m. to 24 hours. On the west side of Telegraph Road, with the shops of Bloomfield Place, the Township Board approved extended hours from 10 p.m. for Starbucks, Potbelly, and Chipotle. with Starbucks allowed to open at 5:30 a.m. Other nearby businesses with extended hours of operation are IHOP, which is open until midnight on Friday and Saturday. Wingstop was recently approved from 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. midnight, 7 days a week. So I just want to demonstrate that the request for the operator to have their extended hours of operation would not be inconsistent with other uses along the corridor. In terms of the proposal itself, the applicant is seeking to do an interior demolition and interior renovation of the existing space, which is located in the shopping center. In addition to the interior proposal, the applicant is proposing an outdoor seating amenity, which is pretty common among our Class C tavern restaurants within the township, in which the applicant is seeking to utilize the frontage along Telegraph Road to incorporate the addition of a new outdoor patio space. And along with that addition, they are including some renovations to include a canopy, as shown on your screen, which would partially cover that outdoor patio space to allow for patrons to sit underneath a covered canopy, and then it also extends out to a fully open air area as well. In regards to the site access and parking, the existing shopping center, the applicant in this proposal is not seeking to change any of the on-site circulation. I do want to note that with this new proposal, they will be eliminating a previous drive-through operation, which was utilized by both Big B and High Octane. And the drive-through window location in the southeast corner of the site the proposal is to be occupied by that outdoor seating area, in which I noted earlier. And also, since there will be no drive-through operation, the intention is that any vehicular traffic which was frequented by the drive-through that area will not be utilized for that purpose, thus making a patio a reasonable location for that use. And that also was reviewed by our fire marshal to ensure that adequate site circulation was able to be accommodated for our various fire trucks. So I just want to note that. The site plan does show a total of 97 parking spaces on site. The applicant was required to submit a shared parking study, which was completed by Tetra Tech. In their report dated February 11th, 2025, the traffic study did include, the applicant was asked to include numbers for parking calculations at their other sites within the Southeast Michigan area. I do want to note that as part of that study, the applicant did include locations in, they looked at similar locations, not their locations, same use in Farmington, Grosse Pointe, Plymouth, and Sterling Heights. I did also notice recently when reviewing this that the square footage of the other buildings was quite a significantly larger than the proposed 4,100 square foot tenant space that's being requested here. But I do want to note that as part of the shared parking study, there were numbers that were provided to Fishbeck, who is the township traffic engineer, to determine the peak time of the proposed users. In that study, they note that the peak weekday operations would require 19 parking spaces during the weekday peak, and then the weekend peak, noting that a need of 57 parking spaces would be required. And again, that's bearing in mind that there are 97 parking spaces on site. That being said, based on the traffic study as well as the additional information provided, there was a recommendation by our traffic engineer that the site does have adequate parking to accommodate the existing tenant spaces within the shopping center as well as the proposed use. I do want to note that there is also a recommendation that anytime a new tenant were to enter into the shopping center, that a revised parking study would be provided by that applicant at that time to determine that significant parking was able to accommodate that new use. I just want to note that that's not uncommon within the township. We do have both the shopping centers south of Maple Road along Telegraph, both Bloomfield Plaza, as well as the shopping center across the way. They do have the same situation. When they do have new tenants that come in, we do have to require a shared parking study to determine that any new tenants are going to render this site non-compliant. So I just wanted to share that with you. And I also want to note that our zoning ordinance does allow for the planning commission to accept a traffic study as long as our traffic engineer supports and endorses that traffic study. In this case, that is the instance. Additionally, the applicant is seeking to add some architectural modifications. As I noted earlier, highlighted on your screen, you can see a building canopy, which is proposed to be located along the Telegraph Road frontage, as well as glass patio doors and an enhanced and enlarged landscape outdoor patio area. Since this is a special land use, we do review the requirements as it relates to a special land use within the township. The applicant's related renovations of the site with the extension of the outdoor patio as part of the requests to sell alcoholic beverages on the site. The size, location, and character of the proposed use is compatible and harmonious with the surrounding commercial and auto-oriented uses. As I stated earlier, the hours of operation do require special consideration for a special land use. Again, the request before you would be operation from 11 a.m. to 12 midnight, Monday through Sunday. Also looking at our special land use, we're looking at if the use is going to create any ancillary or negative impacts to adjacent properties. In regards to noise and odor, there are no additional noises or odor other than those that are customary associated with the commercial uses. I do want to note that the immediately adjacent housing that is located, the closest multifamily residential, which is also multifamily residential, which is immediately adjacent to the site. The shopping center actually abuts up to carports on that RM property, so there are no immediate direct impacts to residential that abut up to this this proposal. I do want to note that there was a question regarding pedestrian access to Carl's Golf Land. The applicant has indicated that at this time there is some pavers, I believe, that allow for people to cross the area to Carl's Golf Land. But this proposal at this time does not include a formalized sidewalk, if you were, or cross access to go to Carl's. Based on conversations with the applicant Gary, who's here with us, there is the discussion with the property owners, who are also the same owners as Carl Golfland, to consider the potential for a cross-access pedestrian pathway in the future if the need were to arise, and that would be something that would be reviewed in our department and ultimately would be reviewed by the design review board if so that consideration were to be made. With that, this proposal was reviewed by our various departments. The building department noting that the reviewed plans had to that they require, the permits for the interior renovations. I do want to note, as I presented both to the zoning board as well as the planning commission, that currently the interior of the proposed restaurant is under demolition, and the applicant is still working to really finalize a concrete floor plan for this site. I do want to note that any the floor plan and arrangements would have to meet applicable building and fire code. Fire department noting that they have no objections to the proposed site plan. Engineering environmental services, they have incorporated a report. They have a memo within your packet dated January 9th, noting that they have no issues regarding the proposed use. This application did have an ability to go before as I stated, the design review board, as well as, and they did receive a favorable recommendation onto the planning commission, and that was on January 15th. March 17th, the planning commission forwarded on a recommendation to both the township board and the ZBA to seek necessary variances. The applicant did go before the zoning board of appeals on April 8th. At that time, The zoning board of appeals heard the variance request as it relates to the proposed outdoor seating area. This will be in the seating is proposed in the photograph to your right-hand side. That is where the outdoor patios considered. And they did have to go to the zoning board of appeals for an accessory structure in the front yard. They are seeking to add a gas fireplace outside on the patio, as well as a brick landscape wall with a fence on top, which does provide adequate security as well as meeting the building code requirements and access to the ingress and egress of that patio space. So since all of those items, the fencing, the wall, and that fireplace are located in the Telegraph Road frontage, it did necessitate a variance. And that variance was granted at the April 8th ZBA meeting. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions that you have about the proposal. And there is 4 conditions in which we ask the Township Board to consider under what recommendation that the Planning Commission and Zoning Board, as well as the Township Board, based on the recommendation from the Planning Commission and Zoning Board, that you consider the following conditions to be placed on the approval, which would be compliance with the requirement of the township departments, compliance with the requirements of the township's traffic consultants, approval of a Class C liquor license, and signing of the liquor license agreement, which is actually the next item on the agenda for further discussion, and then seeking approval for outdoor dining as a special event from the Design Review Board. We do always require a special event for outdoor seating, especially the first time. We want to make sure that the layout, the final configuration, everything meets the applicable circulation and code. So that would be the final review of that outdoor seating layout would be reviewed as part of that special event. And with that, again, I'm happy to answer any questions. I do know that we have the applicant as well as the owner of Sidecar Slider Bar.
Okay, well, thank you, Andrea. That was very nice. And it's an open public hearing, so if you're here to speak on this topic, and now's your time to come up to the microphone, and if you have any comments or questions. If not, we'll close the public hearing and open up to the board for any questions.
I have a couple of questions, and a little bit, you and I were emailing back and forth earlier. So in going through the packet, and like I just did a rough look at the layout, 91 seats inside, 32 under the canopy, plus there'll be an open patio. So that's 123 plus the open patio. And then on page 368, it talks about when you include the personnel working, a maximum of 159 occupants in the facility. And the 97 parking spaces strikes me as a potential concern because at one point it says, the parking study says you need 128, which is 31 short. Just personal experience from that lot, being right next to Carl's, and when it was high octane, they had busy weekends to the point where the owner was on a megaphone saying, please don't park at Carl's, please don't park at Carl's. There was some friction, even though Carl's owns the property. The manager of Carl's apparently got upset with high octane. I actually used to go into high octane and I knew the owners briefly, but that's why they left. I'm happy to see the development. I like what they want to propose. I really do. But it seems to me, like you said, the peak is 19 parking spaces and on the weekend, the peak is 57. 19, I mean, half of that would be staff. I just have real issues that the parking numbers during busy times, and then are we, when it was really busy, are they okay with, going over and parking at Carl's upset Carl's the last time? There is no extra space other than invading Carl's. And I saw that myself, witnessed it myself. There is not enough parking even on the weekend when some of those other businesses are closed or very modest hours on the weekend. I have concerns about the parking with that size of a restaurant. On the other hand, I know it's been vacant for years and I like what they're planning, so I want to approve it. I just have that reservation.
Understood. I guess I'm not familiar with I'm not familiar with overflow parking going on to Carl's related to the shopping center parking lot being full. And was it related to a special event? I'm not sure if I do know that the previous user did have hold some special events during the weekends, which I do know impacted the parking. So I don't know if we're comparing apples to apples. But in terms of the we feel comfortable in our traffic engineer's report and that they did a very thorough job, especially the fact that they took it the next level and they did have the applicant supply those numbers. We don't always base parking based on numbers of seats within a
Sure.
structure, right? It's based on, the traffic engineers use their ULI and their various formulas to determine demand. So going through that exercise and identifying the various uses, as well as it says when compared to the forecast demand using ULI shared parking rates, the results are 32 less spaces during the weekday peak period and 19 less spaces during the weekend peak period. So they're actually able to supply in a statement that the forecast is actually coming under what they would have seen within the ULI shared parking rates. So I understand your concern, but I also I feel that we vetted it out and did have it reviewed accordingly, as well as getting those the numbers from the other locations. So I'm not sure if that answers your questions or makes you feel more comfortable, but I can understand the concern, especially because we have not had this type of user in that shopping
strip
center.
mall.
Well, in
Right.
fact, that's been a dead shopping center for so long, and most of the other, there's so many vacancies, and anyone who's in there, they hardly have any traffic in there or people parking to be on top of it. And as we discussed at the last meeting, if any additional or new businesses that would come in there, then it's their responsibility to come up with a recalculation of the parking. It's incumbent on them and how it's going to impact them, not how it's going to impact this tenant and this business.
That is correct. It would be the property owner's requirement to be able to provide us with that shared parking as needed. If they have a new tenant interested in one of those spaces, we'd have to take a look at the entire center in whole.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Chris?
Valerie had mentioned that to me earlier about the parking, and after looking it over, similar to what Andrea had said, it was nice that they provided us with the parking and some of their peak hours at some of their other locations to be able to give you truly apples to apples comparison of what they were seeing in terms of parking, which then when you got to see the actual numbers, made me feel more comfortable based on what I'm seeing, right? Obviously, we have engineers and experts. I'm not a parking expert, so I can't say it. But if I have a reservation and I look at the information, and they were adequately able to provide that. So taking what Valerie said, being able to do a little more of that research, I do feel comfortable. But I understood her point. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate this tenant investing in our township. As Neil had said, it's kind of been, I wouldn't say dead, but a underutilized area of our township. And it's great to be able to provide this kind of type of recreation that our residents are asking for. So this is a great use, and I'm glad we can do this. So thank you.
You have a nicer way of saying it, but it is dead. It is dead, but it's not going to be dead anymore.
No, it's
I
gonna be
mean,
great.
you've done a great job as far as the type of business that you're going to be providing to the township, and we certainly can utilize and need more good restaurants. So I'm so pleased to see that you'll be investing in the township. You have such a great job at your other facilities, and you're really going to add a lot to the township.
So I'm assuming you're working to a motion?
I am. How did you know? That's why you're the supervisor. I would like to make a motion that we approve the site plan and special land use as presented. And do you want the full?
You could just say and subject to the four conditions.
And subject to the four conditions that have been presented.
And support.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, passes. Thank you, Andrea.
I'll sit down for the next item.
Yeah, okay. Item number 10, consider approval of sidecar slider bar restaurant application for a Class C liquor license presented by Martin Brook, our township clerk. Welcome, Martin.
Hey, so the liquor license applications are coordinated through my office and touches many departments within the township. The applicant, Gary Gloria, visited our office and reviewed the requirements and the liquor license process is organized and managed by my deputy, Dina Mondock. And I can say that all of the requirements contained in the application have been met, including also the requirements of the Board of Trustees, July 13th, 2015, Class C criteria. Those materials are all in the packet, indicating compliance with the requirements. And it's the opinion of my office that the sidecar slider bar should receive consideration for a Class C quarter license, subject to the 4 conditions in the memo. Number 1 has been accomplished just moments ago, which is the prior site plan and special land use approval, and then departmental approvals as noted in the memo, and also importantly, the signing of the Bloomfield Township liquor license agreement.
Thank you, Martin. Any comments? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Support.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same. Okay. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good luck.
Good luck. Okay. Item number 11, public hearing to consider lot split at 5845 Lasser Road. That was previously heard on May 28, 2024, presented by Andrea Bibby, our Deputy Director of Planning Building. Welcome back, Andrea.
Thank you. The next request is actually something that is being removed, has to be removed from the table. This is an item that was tabled at the May 28th, 2024 meeting. At that time, the Township Board held a public hearing to consider the lot split at 5845 Lasser Road into 2 residential lots. At that time, there was a condition that the demolition of the existing home would have to commence or be complete within 6 months of the lot split. And at that time, there was a determination made by the property owner that time frame. He was not prepared to agree to that time frame, and the board made that motion to table the item. So what we have back before you now is the request, and this is the public hearing for the lot split. The property owner at 5845, Mr. Donald DeClerc, has notified the township that Cosimo Lombardo with Cranbrook Custom Homes is purchasing the property to demolish the existing residential structure and to divide the parcel into 2 single-family residential lots. You can see highlighted on your screen, this is the parcel that we are speaking of. The parcel itself actually has frontage on both Hollow Lane as well as Lasser Road. So in that situation, we do have to consider the lot as having 2 frontages. The applicant has provided, and I do want to note the zoning. The zoning is R2, single-family residential. Within the R2 single-family residential, the required lot size is 20,000 square feet, and the required lot width is 120 square feet, 120 feet. In this instance, both parcels that are being proposed on the site do meet the requirements within our R2 zoning classification. However, we do have, in addition to the underlying zoning requirements, the township does have a lot split ordinance, Chapter 18, Article 3, divisions of lot and parcels, requires the following standards, which are highlighted in your staff report, that the following criteria is met. And most importantly, one of the key formulas that we use when considering a lot split is that all residential lots that are formed or changed by the division shall have a lot width and lot area of no less than the average lot width and area of all residential lots fronting on the same street within 100 feet. So what we require an applicant to do is consider what other lots are within 500 feet that are on the impacted roads. In this situation, we have 2 impacted roads. So the applicant provided a list of homes on Hollow Lane, as well as homes abutting Lasser Road, facing Lasser Road along 500 feet. The averaging of those properties came in with a required land area average of 0.47 acres and a required average lot width of 109 feet. I do want to note that as proposed, the applicant is accommodating the average land area. Parcel A, as highlighted on your screen here, comes in at 0.52, thus coming in over the average of 0.47, and parcel B coming in at 0.54 acres. They do meet that average land area of all of those homes within the 500 feet. I also want to note that they do come in.
I'd like to make a point of clarification, it's showing 0.534 for both. Is that correct? So the parcel split proposal sheet right here,
0.5.
net acreage.
Okay. They both, okay, so they,
It's also shown on your page number 2 of that.
right, yeah.
So I just want to make sure that the numbers are consistent, but in both cases, they're over the minimum requirement.
Correct.
But
They're both at
and
0.5. One's at 0.53 and one's at 0.54. So maybe we must have rounded up on parcel B to, there may have been a slight.
Okay, well, we're in a public hearing, so why don't we finish with you, Andrea, and then we'll open up the public, and then we can come back and clarify Mark's question.
Sure.
Okay?
And then the lot width itself, the lot width proposed for both these parcels actually exceeds the minimum 120 in the underlying zoning, coming in at 124 and 123. And the average lot width was actually at 109, so they actually are coming in slightly over the averaging, thus meeting that calculation and requirement within our lot split ordinance. I do want to note that the treasurer's office reports that all taxes have been paid, which is a requirement of a lot split, and also that public water and sanitary sewer all are available to the existing parcel. Both resultant parcels will be required to connect to the existing water and sanitary sewer. The resultant parcel A will need to pay the water capital and direct connection charges and the sanitary sewer debt and direct connection charges required at the time of building permit submittal. With that, our various departments did have an opportunity to review the proposed lot split. The assessor's department having no objections and notes the approval should be conditioned upon the existing residence to be demolished, which we've established that we do have a representative here on behalf of the buyer to answer any questions, but they do understand that that is a requirement of the lot split. With that, I ask that the township board take public hearing and consider under what condition that that they find that a lot split would be accepted. The consideration noted in your packet would be to approve the lot split as presented, subject to compliance with the requirements of the township's department, including the application and approval of a demolition permit for the existing residence to be demolished within 6 months of the township granting the split, or to deny the application as presented.
Thank you, Andrea. So we're in an open public hearing, and if you have something you'd like to make a comment about this item, number 11, please come up to the microphone, introduce yourself and your address, please, and we usually give you approximately 3 minutes.
Jack Alamadine. I live on 3576 Darcy Drive, a part of the Homeowners Association between Hala and Darcy. I think this is a phenomenal improvement for the area. There's a lot of noxious weeds at the corner of Lasser and Hala in this property, so it's going to really uplift the whole area. The only comment I have is water mitigation in this area, runoff is a concern. So hopefully that the builder understands that risk and puts a proper mitigation so that the water doesn't flow into adjacent lots. I think that might happen a little bit now, but I'd like just to highlight water mitigation is a key to be a good neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments with regard to this item number 11? If not, we'll close the public hearing and open up to the board for any comments or questions. Mark, do you want to start with your comment about the property dimensions?
Just to make sure that that one lot split is consistent throughout what was shown, so that there's no confusion going forward. I also think the residents' comment and water mitigation with the larger property next to the road, that will probably help out that situation as well.
Okay, and
It's in the back.
Before we can go any further, this, as Andrea first noted, this
It hasn't
item
been
was
done.
tabled
Taken off
back
the
on May,
table.
so we have to vote now to take it off the table.
Make a motion that
No, I'm sorry. If I recall correctly, we did remove it from the table. So we tabled it. It sat there for a long time.
Yeah.
And then we removed it from the table a while back. And now they've started afresh. So I don't believe we're removing it from the table.
I don't remember that.
I don't either.
That's why it's on the bottom of the.
I think we tabled it but it went so long that I do recall
Because it was on every single one of our agendas.
that we decided to remove it. Whether it was official or legal,
Okay.
that's Dirk.
Okay, we're fine with moving on then.
Okay.
Okay.
At least Chris and I remember.
Okay. good.
Boy,
I
you
remember.
too.
I remember.
There was a removal. That's why it's no longer on the bottom of our agendas.
Because it was riding there forever.
In any event,
So just-
part of the mitigation of, which is very important, which is going to be taken care of in any site plan presentation, that's just part of what the department does, so I don't think you have any good that you brought it up, but you shouldn't have any concerns. That's just part of what the township will be looking at anyway.
I'm pleased with the division of the property. I had a homeowner reach out to me recently, seeing it on the agenda, that where we made the lots, agreed years ago to make the lots slightly smaller and then put big houses, and they said, please be careful with this. I don't have any issues with it, and I really appreciate that you came in on behalf of the HOA and said that your HOA thinks that this would be a good thing. And also the water mitigation is always a concern, so thank you for mentioning it for us.
Chris?
Yeah, I just want to highlight something that actually Trustee Barnett said. With every new build, it goes to site plan review, and civil engineers do it for each one of these parcels. So the builder, not just being a good steward, has to get engineering approval for all the water mitigation that lot creates. So before they can even get approval by the township, an engineer has to approve it. So their engineer is putting all the liability on himself to approve that lot as is. So they have to do it for each one of these in order to create water mitigation for each parcel, if I'm not mistaken. So there will be additional reviews done in the current standards compared to when this property was done, which were 50 or 60 years ago when standards were different. So it should, again, additionally help you, which is what Trustee Barnett said. So I cannot guarantee it, but there are engineers who are going to ensure that this should be better than it is currently.
Any other comments? Mark, anything?
I'd prefer the driveways to be on, not on Lasser Road.
Have them on Hallow Lane?
Yes, if it's possible.
Is that something we
We,
determine?
we don't regulate the location of driveways. The applicant would have to apply to the Road Commission of Oakland County, but we do not provide or have requirements for the location of a driveway on a site, on a single-family residential site.
Okay.
But I would agree with Mark. I think it would look nicer if they were lined up with the rest of the community. But that's just our,
We can
just a
certainly-
thought. No?
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
that's my intention anyway. Whoever lives in that house is gonna wanna go on to Holla, not Lasser, right? If you lived in that
If you,
house.
can you come to the microphone? If you
Yeah, if you'd like to come up and introduce
that way we
yourself.
can hear
We do
you.
have Mount Lazar too.
Everybody,
Okay.
Cosmo Lombardo with Cranbrook Custom Homes. Yes, that is our intention. Whoever lives in that home is also gonna wanna go out on Holla and not have to try and turn left on Lasser. So that's our intention. Of course, if I have a client that says, no, I wanna go out on Lasser, I'll do that for them. But I'm 95% sure no one's going to want to do that.
I got a feeling you're going to hear from your HOA on this one, but just,
So they're not part of the HOA because it's
oh,
separate.
it's separate,
If
okay.
you look at that dotted line to the right, I'm sorry if I'm speaking
Yeah.
inappropriately.
Mm-hmm.
That house on the right was developed after the HOA,
Mm.
so that comes onto Holla, so the place for the driveway, we've already been through it, it's okay. The Holla entrance onto Lasser is in a deep valley.
Yeah.
And you
Saw
can't
that.
see, so making a left-hand turn is high risk, that's why I go out Darcy. So the current exit out of, if you go out of Lasser, half a dozen other, you can do that if you want. I don't think there's a preference going out.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, you'll work with the road commission because they're the ultimate
Yeah.
authority.
Yeah, I will. But my first intention, unless I get a client that tells me they want something different, is going to be go out to Holla.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the board? If not, I'll take a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the lot split as presented for 5845 Lazar Road.
There's support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, item number 12 is,
Congratulations.
yes, good luck. Congratulations. Consider the authorization of closed session concerning the purchase of real property and a written attorney-client opinion on the exempt discussion or disclosure by the state or federal statute. Can we have a motion to approve to move into private session? Martin, did you want to? Who had the motion?
Chris.
Chris?
Yes.
You had the motion?
Yes, so moved.
Support.
Support. And Martin, take a roll call vote.
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Ms. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Antokli?
Yes.
Mr. Kalinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Shostak?
Yes.
I'm yes as well.
Yes.
Mr. McCready?
Yes.
7-0.
All right, so we'll move into closed session, and Steve, can we turn off the cameras and the microphones now? Okay, welcome back, everyone. The Board of Trustees has moved from private session, and I'll move to that we adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say. what?
I move we adjourn.
And all in support, say aye.
Support.
Aye.
Support. Aye.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned.